The morning sky over Earth turned black with ships that looked like floating mountains made of dark metal and crystal. Captain Jake Morrison stood in his command center watching screens that showed hundreds of alien vessels descending through the clouds. He had been a soldier for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Empire, and they stood 8 feet tall with bodies that looked like they were made from living crystal. Their skin reflected light in strange ways, and their voices sounded like wind through broken glass. They spoke perfect English, which somehow made everything more frightening. Jake tried to contact the other defense bases around the world, but his radio only made static sounds. The alien ships had done something to all human technology. Every computer screen went black. Every phone stopped working. Every weapon system shut down like someone had turned off a giant switch. High Commander Vexter appeared on screens across the world even though human technology was supposed to be dead. His crystal face showed no emotion as he spoke to the entire human race at once. He said humans were now property of the Zephyrian Empire and would serve as workers in their expanding civilization. Lisa Carter was fixing a broken water pump in her apartment building when the screens came alive. She was 25 years old and had always been good with machines. Her younger brother Danny was visiting her that day, and they watched together as the alien commander explained their new reality. Humans would be sorted by strength and intelligence, then sent to different work camps across the galaxy. That the invasion happened so fast that most people barely had time to understand what was occurring. Alien soldiers moved through the cities in groups of 10. They carried weapons that made blue light and could knock down a building with one shot. When humans tried to run, the aliens would point smaller weapons at them that made them fall down. And Shake Dirt Danny grabbed his sister's hand as alien soldiers entered their building. He was only 17 and had never been away from home for more than a week. Now strange creatures were separating families and loading people onto transport ships like cattle. Lisa tried to stay close to Danny, but the aliens pushed them into different lines. The Zephyrians had studied humans for months before the invasion. They knew about human strength and intelligence, but they thought emotions were a weakness. They had conquered 47 other species across the galaxy, and all of them had given up fighting after a few weeks of occupation. Dr. Amanda Stone was working in the city hospital when the aliens arrived. She was a surgeon who had saved hundreds of lives, and she tried to help people who were hurt during the invasion. But the aliens told her that injured humans would be disposed of because they were defective products. She watched helplessly as alien soldiers dragged away patients who could not walk. The aliens put metal collars around every human neck. The collars delivered electric shocks when humans disobeyed orders or moved too slowly. Children cried when the collars were attached, but their parents could do nothing to help. Speaking against the aliens meant punishment for entire families. Former Marine Ben Rodriguez was at his daughter Katie's school when the invasion began. He had served 3 tours overseas and knew how to fight, but alien weapons made human military training useless. Katie was only 8 years old, and she held his hand tightly as alien soldiers herded them toward transport ships. The aliens divided humans into categories like farmers sorting animals. Strong men went to mining ships. Women with education went to research facilities. Children went to training centers where they would learn to serve the Empire from a young age. Ben tried to stay with Katie, but alien guards separated them with electric sticks that made him fall down. Rick Hayes had been a police officer for 15 years before the invasion. He understood how to keep order and protect people, but the aliens made human law meaningless. They had their own rules, and humans who broke those rules simply disappeared. Rick watched his city transform into a prison camp within days. The transport ships carried humans to different parts of the world where alien work camps waited. The ships had no windows, and humans sat in darkness for hours not knowing where they were going. Some people cried. Others sat in silence. A few tried to make plans, but the collar devices heard everything and delivered shocks for suspicious conversations. Teacher Maria Santos found herself assigned to help train human children for alien service. She had taught school for 10 years and loved helping kids learn new things. Now she was forced to teach children how to obey alien masters without question. The aliens said human education was wasteful and children only needed to learn basic work skills. High Commander Vextar reported to his superiors that Earth conquest was complete ahead of schedule. Human resistance had been minimal and productivity was already beginning. The aliens celebrated their efficient victory while humans began their first night as slaves in a galaxy that no longer belonged to them. The Zephyrians thought they understood human nature because they had observed human behavior for months before attacking. They saw humans get angry and then calm down quickly. They watched humans argue and then make peace. They believed human emotions were shallow and temporary, unlike the deep loyalty their own species felt toward the Empire. But the aliens had only seen humans during normal times, when anger was about small problems like traffic jams or work stress. They had never seen what happened when humans faced real threats to their families and freedom. They did not understand that some kinds of human anger grow stronger with time instead of weaker. As the first day of occupation ended, humans across the world lay in alien holding facilities trying to process what had happened to their lives. Many felt hopeless, but some felt something else beginning to grow inside them, something cold and patient and very dangerous that would take the aliens months to recognize. 6 months later, the true horror of alien rule became clear to every human on Earth. The work camps operated 18 hours each day with only short breaks for food and sleep. Humans who collapsed from exhaustion were taken away and never seen again. The aliens called them defective units and disposed of them like broken machines. Ben Rodriguez worked in a mining facility that dug deep holes in the ground to extract metals for alien ships. His hands bled from handling sharp rocks, but the collar around his neck shocked him if he stopped working. He thought about his daughter Katie every day, and wondered if she was still alive in the training camps. The aliens had promised that families would be reunited after humans proved their usefulness, but 6 months had passed without any family meetings. Ben learned from other workers that the aliens considered human family bonds to be inefficient emotional attachments that reduced productivity. Lisa Carter found herself assigned to a factory that built parts for alien machines. She was good with technology and learned quickly how alien devices worked. But every day she watched humans work until they fell down from tiredness. The aliens would drag away the collapsed workers and bring in new ones from transport ships. Her brother Danny had been sent to an agricultural camp 300 miles away where humans grew food for alien soldiers. Lisa had no way to contact him or even know if he was still alive. She lay awake at night in the worker dormitory, thinking about his smile and wondering if she would ever see it again. Dr. Amanda Stone worked in an alien medical facility where she was forced to help keep human workers healthy enough to labor. But the aliens had no interest in actually healing humans who became sick or injured. They only wanted to prevent diseases from spreading to other workers and reducing overall productivity. Amanda watched alien doctors dispose of humans who had broken bones or serious illnesses instead of treating them. The aliens told her that replacing sick humans was more cost-effective than medical care. She had become a doctor to save lives, but now she was helping aliens decide which humans were worth keeping alive. The breaking point came when Ben Rodriguez saw his daughter Katie for the first time since the invasion. She was being transported through his mining facility on her way to a new training center. Katie had grown thin and her eyes looked empty, like she had forgotten how to hope for anything good. Ben called out to her, but alien guards immediately activated his collar and sent electricity through his body until he fell down. Katie saw her father on the ground and started to run toward him, but more aliens grabbed her and dragged her back to the transport vehicle. Ben watched helplessly as his little girl disappeared again that night. Ben lay in his sleeping area, feeling something break inside his chest. Not break like something fragile that shatters, but break like a dam that has been holding back a flood. The sadness and fear he had carried for 6 months began changing into something much more dangerous. Other humans in the mining facility noticed the change in Ben's face. Former police officer Rick Hayes worked in the same mine, and he recognized the look in Ben's eyes. Rick had seen that expression before in soldiers who had been pushed beyond their limits. It was the look of someone who had stopped caring about staying alive. Maria Santos struggled with her assignment at the training facility where human children learned to serve alien masters. She was supposed to teach the children that humans were inferior beings who should be grateful for alien guidance. Every day she watched young minds being programmed to accept slavery as natural. The children asked her questions about their parents, and Maria had to lie and say they were happy in their work assignments. The truth was that many parents had been eliminated for showing resistance or failing to meet productivity quotas. The aliens believed that human emotional attachments made workers unreliable. Tony Clark worked in a repair facility where he fixed alien vehicles and weapons. He was a good mechanic and understood how machines operated. But he also began to understand something else. The aliens relied heavily on their technology and assumed it would always work perfectly. Tony noticed that alien devices were complex, but also fragile in certain ways. Their weapons needed specific power sources. Their vehicles required regular maintenance with exact procedures. Most importantly, their command systems were all connected together like links in a chain. Lisa Carter made similar observations in her factory assignment. She saw that alien technology was advanced, but it was also standardized across their entire empire. Every device used the same basic components and operated on the same frequencies. The aliens had made their systems efficient, but they had also made them vulnerable. Dr. Amanda Stone began keeping mental notes about alien biology during her medical duties. She learned that the crystalline aliens had excellent strength and intelligence, but they also had weaknesses. Their crystal skin could be damaged by certain frequencies. Their internal organs were different from humans but still required specific conditions to function, but the aliens grew more confident as months passed without serious human resistance. They reduced guard rotations at work facilities and spent less time monitoring human communications. High Commander Vextar sent reports to his superiors praising the efficiency of Earth's conquest and requesting permission to begin harvesting humans from other worlds. But the aliens had misunderstood what they were seeing. They thought human anger was like their own emotions, which flared up quickly and then faded away. They did not realize that human rage could build slowly like pressure in a sealed container. Growing stronger every day, Ben Rodriguez began having quiet conversations with other workers during meal breaks. He spoke carefully because the collars might be listening, but he found ways to share information about guard schedules and facility layouts. Other humans began sharing similar details about their own work assignments. Rick Hayes used his police training to organize secure communication methods between different work groups. He taught other humans how to pass messages without attracting alien attention. Former teacher Maria Santos helped develop simple codes that children could use to carry information between facilities. The resistance began as small acts of defiance that the aliens barely noticed. Tools would break more often than expected. Work quotas would fall slightly short. Small electrical problems would develop in alien equipment. The aliens blamed these issues on human incompetence rather than recognizing organized sabotage. But beneath the surface something much larger was building. Humans who had lost everything were discovering that they still had one thing left. They had rage that grew stronger instead of weaker with each passing day. Rage at seeing their children taken away. Rage at watching their friends disappear. Rage at being treated like animals by creatures who thought they understood human nature. The aliens had studied human behavior, but they had only seen humans during peaceful times. They had never witnessed what happened when human fury was properly focused and given time to grow. They were about to learn the difference between anger and true rage. 1 year after the invasion, a secret network connected human workers across the entire planet. Ben Rodriguez had become a natural leader using his military training to establish communication links between different camps. The network grew slowly and carefully because discovery meant death for everyone involved. Rick Hayes developed a system of signals that looked like normal work activities but actually passed messages between facilities. A worker dropping tools in a certain pattern meant guard schedules had changed. Someone coughing 3 times during meals meant new prisoners had arrived with information from other camps. The aliens never suspected that their efficient work system was being used against them. They moved humans between facilities regularly to prevent emotional attachments, but this actually helped the resistance spread information faster. Every transported worker carried news and messages to new locations. Lisa Carter used her engineering knowledge to study alien technology from inside their factories. She learned that the controlled collars operated on a specific frequency that connected to central command systems. More importantly, she discovered that all alien equipment used the same basic power distribution networks. Dr. Peter Kane was a former NASA scientist who found himself assigned to an alien research facility. The aliens valued his intelligence and allowed him to work on advanced projects while wearing a special collar that monitored his thoughts. But Peter had learned to think in ways that avoided detection. Peter began secretly studying the collar technology during his research assignments. He pretended to work on alien projects while actually mapping the electronic systems that controlled human prisoners. He discovered that the collars were connected to a master control network that could theoretically be disrupted. Tony Clark led efforts to establish hidden workshops in abandoned underground areas beneath the work camps. The aliens had built their facilities on top of old human cities without fully exploring the tunnel systems underneath. These forgotten spaces became secret manufacturing centers for the resistance. Using materials stolen from work assignments, humans began building crude but effective tools and weapons. Tony taught other workers how to create electromagnetic devices using salvaged electronics. The workshops operated during sleep periods when alien surveillance was reduced. Dr. Amanda Stone organized medical support for resistance activities. She learned to treat injuries without reporting them to alien supervisors, and developed ways to help humans recover from collar punishments without attracting attention. She also began studying alien biology more carefully. Amanda discovered that the crystalline aliens had enhanced hearing that made them sensitive to certain sound frequencies. She shared this information with the Resistance Network, and experiments began on developing sonic weapons that could disorient alien guards. Maria Santos used her position at the training facility to recruit older children into the Resistance Network. She taught them games that were actually coded communication methods and helped them memorize information about facility layouts and security procedures. The children became excellent spies because aliens paid little attention to them. Young people could move between areas more freely and often overheard important conversations between alien supervisors. They passed this intelligence back to adult Resistance members through Maria's coded teaching sessions. The Resistance discovered that alien command structures were highly centralized, with most decisions coming from a few key facilities. Local guards followed orders without question and had little authority to adapt when situations changed. This rigid system could be exploited if the Resistance could disrupt communications. Ben Rodriguez coordinated with Resistance cells in other facilities to map the complete alien command network. They learned that High Commander Vexter operated from a massive ship that remained in orbit above the largest human population center. Smaller command ships controlled regional operations. The aliens grew increasingly confident as human productivity remained steady and obvious resistance seemed minimal. They began reducing security measures and allowing humans more freedom of movement within work areas. Guard rotations became predictable and surveillance systems operated on automatic settings. High Commander Vextar reported to his superiors that Earth had become a model for efficient conquest and occupation. He requested additional human populations from other worlds to expand production capabilities. The alien leadership praised his methods and used Earth as an example for other invasion forces, but beneath the surface, the Resistance Network had grown to include over 10,000 active members across 6 continents. They had established secure communication systems, hidden weapon manufacturing, medical support networks, and detailed intelligence about alien operations and weaknesses. Dr. Peter Kane completed his analysis of the collar control system and developed plans for a device that could disrupt the frequency used to operate the collars. The device would need to be activated simultaneously across multiple locations to prevent the aliens from adapting their systems. Lisa Carter finished mapping alien power distribution networks and identified critical nodes that supplied energy to major facilities. He worked with Tony Clark to design electromagnetic pulse devices that could overload alien electrical systems without permanently damaging equipment humans would need later. The Resistance faced a terrible reality about their situation. They were improvised fighters with basic weapons facing an enemy with superior technology and numbers. Success would require perfect coordination and the willingness to accept massive casualties during the initial assault. But the Resistance had advantages the aliens did not understand. They were fighting for their families and their species' survival. They had learned to hate with scientific precision over months of careful observation. Most importantly, they were no longer the same people who had been conquered a year earlier. Rick Hayes organized training sessions disguised as work activities, where humans learned basic combat techniques and assault procedures. Former soldiers, like Ben Rodriguez, taught others how to move quietly and coordinate attacks. The training happened during breaks and meal periods in small groups. The Resistance also benefited from alien overconfidence and predictable behavior patterns. The aliens followed strict schedules and procedures that made their movements easy to anticipate. They relied heavily on their technology and became confused when systems failed unexpectedly. Maria Santos used her access to alien educational materials to learn more about Zephyrian culture and psychology. She discovered that the aliens had never faced sustained resistance from a conquered species. Their military doctrine assumed that initial conquest would lead to permanent submission. As the Resistance Network reached critical size, Ben Rodriguez called for a meeting of regional cell leaders. The meeting took place in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath the largest work camp. Representatives from facilities across the globe attended using coded transportation schedules. The leaders discussed Final preparations for a coordinated uprising that would target alien command systems simultaneously across the planet. They knew they would only get one chance, and failure would mean extinction for the human species. But they also knew that continued slavery meant slow death anyway. Ben Rodriguez addressed the assembled resistance leaders with words that would be remembered for generations. He told them that the aliens had made one fatal mistake. They had given humans time to learn hatred, and the patience to let that hatred grow into something much more dangerous than simple anger. The resistance network had grown to include 15,000 active members across every continent when the aliens announced their new plan. High Commander Vextar called it the Productivity Enhancement Protocol and explained it to his regional commanders through broadcasts that human workers were forced to watch. The plan was simple and horrifying. Humans would be worked to death within 5 years and replaced with fresh populations from other conquered worlds. The aliens had calculated that this approach would be more efficient than maintaining long-term slave populations. Current workers would be eliminated as they became less productive. Children like Ben Rodriguez's daughter Katie would be the first to face termination as they transitioned from training programs to adult work assignments. The aliens had decided that human children required too many resources during their education period, and the investment was not cost-effective. The news spread through the resistance network like electricity through water. This was no longer about freedom or fighting back against oppression. This was about the complete extinction of the human species within a few years. Every person on Earth had become marked for elimination by creatures who saw them as temporarily useful animals. Ben Rodriguez felt something change inside his chest when he heard the announcement. The cold anger that had been growing for months suddenly became something much more dangerous. He was no longer just a father trying to save his daughter or a soldier fighting for his people. He had become something the aliens had never encountered. BEFORE. Dr. Peter Kane worked frantically to complete his collar disruption device. After learning about the termination schedule, he knew that Katie and thousands of other children would be killed within weeks unless the resistance acted immediately. The device was almost ready but needed field testing to ensure it would work correctly. Lisa Carter coordinated with resistance cells to finalize targeting plans for alien power systems. She had identified 17 critical nodes that supplied energy to major command facilities. Destroying these targets would cripple alien operations, but the attacks had to happen simultaneously to prevent countermeasures. The resistance leadership held an emergency meeting in the underground tunnel system. Representatives from around the world gathered to plan what everyone knew would be their only chance to save humanity. The discussion was brief because the situation left no room for debate or delay. Rick Hayes presented intelligence reports showing that alien security had become increasingly relaxed over the past months. Guard rotations were predictable and many facilities operated with minimal supervision during certain hours. The aliens had grown so confident that they barely paid attention to human activities. Dr. Amanda Stone organized medical teams to support the uprising and treat expected casualties. She also completed her research on alien biology and identified specific vulnerabilities that human fighters could exploit. The crystal skin that protected aliens could be shattered by impacts at precise angles. Tony Clark finished manufacturing the electromagnetic pulse devices in hidden workshops beneath work camps. The devices were crude but powerful enough to overload alien electrical systems for several minutes. This would give human fighters time to seize weapons and communications equipment. Maria Santos had been secretly preparing children at training facilities to help during the uprising. She taught them escape routes and safe hiding places while disguising the lessons as educational games. Many of these children would play crucial roles in the coming battle. The resistance leaders established coordination protocols for the global assault. Attacks would begin simultaneously at 0600 hours, when alien commanders typically held their morning briefings. This timing would maximize disruption of command systems while aliens were concentrated in central locations. Ben Rodriguez was chosen to lead the assault on the primary orbital command ship, where High Commander Vextar directed global operations. This mission was essentially suicide, but Ben volunteered immediately. He told the other leaders that some things were worth dying for, and saving human children was one of them. Dr. Peter Kane completed final tests on the collar disruption device and confirmed it would work across multiple frequencies simultaneously. The device would need to be activated from close proximity to alien command centers but would disable all collars within a 50-mile radius for approximately 1 hour. The resistance spent their final days making detailed preparations while maintaining normal work schedules to avoid suspicion. Weapons and equipment were positioned at strategic locations. Communication schedules were memorized since electronic devices might not function during the electromagnetic attacks. Lisa Carter felt nervous energy building among resistance members as the planned date approached. Humans who had been forced to act submissive for over a year were preparing to release months of accumulated fury. She could see it in their eyes and the way they moved with barely controlled tension. The aliens remained completely unaware of what was building around them. They continued their regular schedules and celebrated their successful management of Earth's human population. High Commander Vexter received commendations from his superiors for exceeding productivity targets. While maintaining order. Local alien commanders reported that human resistance had virtually disappeared and morale among workers seemed to have improved. They attributed this to the effectiveness of their control methods and the natural human tendency to accept authority over time. But the aliens had completely misunderstood what they were observing. Humans had not become more submissive or accepting. They had learned to hide their true feelings while preparing for a war that would determine whether their species survived or went extinct within a few years. 3 days before the planned uprising, Ben Rodriguez gathered with other resistance leaders for final preparations. They reviewed assault plans and confirmed that all cells were ready to coordinate their attacks. Everyone understood that failure meant not just death, but the end of human civilization. Dr. Amanda Stone distributed medical supplies to resistance fighters while explaining how to treat common combat injuries. She also provided detailed information about alien physiology and the most effective ways to disable crystalline soldiers quickly and quietly. Rick Hayes conducted final briefings on assault procedures and emphasized the importance of maintaining communication during chaotic combat situations. He reminded everyone that their goal was not just to fight but to capture alien command facilities and technology intact. The night before Liberation Day, humans across the world lay in their dormitories, thinking about family members they had lost and children they hoped to save. Many had not seen their loved ones for over a year, but they carried memories that had grown stronger instead of weaker with time. Ben Rodriguez thought about his daughter Katie and wondered if she remembered his face or if the alien training had erased her childhood memories. He promised himself that he would find her after the battle or die trying. Some promises were worth keeping regardless of the cost. As dawn approached on what would become known as Liberation Day, the resistance prepared to show the Zephyrian Empire something they had never seen before. They were about to learn what happened when an entire species reached its breaking point simultaneously and decided that death was preferable to continued slavery. At exactly 0600 hours on Liberation Day, the revolution exploded across Earth like a chain reaction of fury that had been building for over a year. Dr. Peter Kane activated his collar disruption device from inside the main alien research facility and watched every control collar within 50 miles suddenly go dead. The moment Ben Rodriguez felt his collar deactivate, he moved with a speed and violence that surprised even himself. Months of suppressed rage erupted as he grabbed the nearest alien guard and used the creature's own weapon to eliminate 3 more guards before they could react. Other humans in the mining facility followed his example. Lisa Carter's engineering teams struck the power distribution centers with electromagnetic pulse devices that sent cascades of electrical failure through alien command networks. Lights went out across major facilities while backup systems struggled to compensate for the coordinated overloads. The Zephyrians had never faced anything like this. In their conquest of 47 other worlds, they had protocols for handling individual troublemakers and small group uprisings, but nothing had prepared them for an entire planet's population attacking simultaneously, with carefully planned coordination. Tony Clark led his mechanics in sabotaging alien vehicles and weapons stockpiles while the confusion spread through enemy ranks. Fuel lines were cut and critical components removed from spacecraft that had been used to transport human prisoners. Communication equipment was destroyed or reprogrammed to send false signals. Rick Hayes coordinated urban combat teams that moved through alien administrative centers with tactical precision learned from months of secret training. Former soldiers taught civilian fighters how to use captured alien weapons, while medics like Dr. Amanda Stone treated wounds and kept the assault teams operational. The real shock for the aliens came from discovering that ordinary humans fought with an intensity that defied all their psychological models. Teachers and shop workers and office employees moved through alien positions with complete disregard for their own safety. These were not professional soldiers, but parents fighting for their children's lives. High Commander Vextar watched his global command displays fill with red warning indicators as facility after facility reported loss of control. His subordinates demanded instructions, but the alien military had no doctrine for handling planet-wide insurrection by supposedly pacified slave populations. Maria Santos evacuated children from training facilities, while resistance fighters cleared escape routes of alien guards. Many of these children had not seen their parents for over a year, but they followed Maria's instructions with discipline that would have impressed professional soldiers. The aliens discovered that their greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. Their centralized command structure collapsed when human teams captured key communication nodes and began broadcasting false orders to alien units. Regional commanders received contradictory instructions while their superiors tried to regain control. Ben Rodriguez led a desperate assault team toward the orbital transport facility that would carry them to High Commander Vextar's command ship. The mission was essentially suicide, but 50 volunteers joined him without hesitation. They had all lost family members to alien cruelty and viewed this as their chance for justice. Lisa Carter's technical teams managed to activate alien transport systems and redirect several ships, carrying human prisoners back to liberation forces. Thousands of workers who had been scheduled for termination found themselves suddenly free and immediately joined the fighting with weapons taken from their former guards. Dr. Peter Kane worked to maintain the collar disruption field while resistance fighters protected his equipment from alien counterattacks. The device was crude and required constant adjustment, but it provided the window of opportunity that human forces needed to seize alien weapons and equipment. The battle raged across 6 continents as humans, who had been forced to act submissive for months, finally released their accumulated fury. Alien guards who had grown accustomed to easy dominance found themselves facing enemies who fought with primal desperation and tactical coordination. Dr. Amanda Stone treated wounded fighters while simultaneously capturing alien medical technology that could save human lives. She learned to operate crystalline healing devices and used them to keep resistance members operational during extended combat operations. Tony Clark's sabotage teams disabled alien atmospheric processes that had been poisoning Earth's air to make it more suitable for Zephyrian biology. Clean air began flowing through human population centers for the first time in over a year, while alien soldiers struggled with breathing difficulties. Rick Hayes coordinated communications between resistance cells using captured alien equipment, reprogrammed by Lisa Carter's technical teams. Orders flowed between combat units while intelligence reports tracked alien movements and identified priority targets for elimination. The aliens attempted to regain control by deploying their reserve forces and calling for reinforcements from other conquered worlds, but human fighters had learned to anticipate alien tactics and prepared countermeasures for every strategy the enemy attempted to implement. Ben Rodriguez reached the orbital facility and commandeered an alien transport ship with his assault team. They had basic knowledge of alien flight systems from months of observation, but piloting the craft required skills none of them possessed. The ship lurched through space toward the command vessel. High Commander Vextar activated his personal guard and prepared for a final stand in his command center. He could not understand how primitive humans had coordinated such an effective assault against superior alien technology and organization. His tactical computers had no explanation for human behavior patterns. The transport ship crashed into the command vessel's docking bay with enough force to breach multiple hull sections. Ben Rodriguez and his team fought their way through corridors filled with alien soldiers, while emergency systems tried to contain atmospheric leaks and structural damage. Lisa Carter established communication with Ben's assault team and provided technical guidance for navigating alien ship systems. She helped them locate the main command center while her ground teams continued disabling alien facilities across the planet. Maria Santos organized evacuation centers for liberated children, while resistance fighters brought them news about family members found in other facilities. Many emotional reunions took place as parents discovered that children they thought were dead had survived the alien training programs. The battle aboard the command ship became personal as Ben Rodriguez fought through alien defenders toward the location where High Commander Vextar waited. Every step brought him closer to the creature responsible for separating him from his daughter and killing thousands of other human families. Dr. Amanda Stone treated casualties from the orbital assault while monitoring communications from the command ship. The mission was succeeding, but at terrible cost as human fighters traded their lives to advance through heavily defended alien positions. After 18 hours of continuous fighting, human forces controlled most major population centers, while alien resistance collapsed into isolated pockets. The Zephyrian Empire that had conquered 47 worlds found itself overwhelmed by the fury of species they had fatally underestimated. Ben Rodriguez found High Commander Vexter in the main command center of the orbital ship, surrounded by the bodies of alien guards who had died defending their leader. The crystalline commander stood 8 feet tall, but Ben felt no fear as he approached with a captured alien weapon in his hands. Vexter spoke in his wind-through-glass voice about human irrationality and the futility of resistance against the Empire. He explained that other Zephyrian fleets would come to reclaim Earth and punish the humans for their rebellion. Ben listened quietly while thinking about his daughter Katie and all the children who had suffered under alien rule. The alien commander could not understand how humans had coordinated such an effective uprising without advanced technology or military organization. He had studied human psychology and concluded that their emotions made them weak and easily controlled. The success of the rebellion challenged everything the Zephyrians believed about inferior species. Ben told Vexter that the aliens had made one fatal error in their conquest of Earth. They had catalogued human strengths and weaknesses, but they had never understood the most dangerous thing about humanity. Humans did not just get angry and forget. They remembered everything and learned from their pain. Dr. Peter Kane maintained the collar disruption field while resistance fighters secured alien facilities across the globe. His device had worked perfectly and given human forces the opportunity they needed to seize weapons and communications equipment. The 1-hour window had stretched into complete liberation as alien command structures collapsed. Lisa Carter coordinated technical teams that captured alien spacecraft and began preparing them for long-range missions. She had learned enough about Zephyrian technology to operate their ships and weapons systems. More importantly, she understood how to send signals across the galaxy to other conquered worlds. The final battle aboard the command ship lasted 3 hours as Ben Rodriguez fought through automated defenses and remaining alien soldiers. His assault team suffered heavy casualties, but advanced steadily toward their target while Lisa provided technical support from the surface. High Commander Vexter activated his personal combat armor and faced Ben in single combat, using weapons that could cut through metal walls. But the alien had never fought someone who cared more about winning than surviving. Ben absorbed terrible wounds while delivering attacks that shattered crystalline armor and exposed vulnerable internal organs. As Vexter lay dying, he finally understood his mistake. Humans did not fight like other species the Empire had conquered. They fought with something beyond mere survival instinct or territorial aggression. They fought with love for their families, transformed into unstoppable rage against those who threatened that love. Dr. Amanda Stone established medical centers in liberated facilities and began treating both human survivors and alien prisoners who chose surrender over death. She learned that some younger Zephyrians had been conscripted into military service and showed signs of questioning Empire policies. Rick Hayes organized security teams to maintain order during the transition period, while resistance leaders established a provisional government. The immediate priority was reuniting separated families and providing medical care for humans who had suffered under alien rule for over a year. Maria Santos worked to locate children who had been scattered across different training facilities and match them with surviving family members. Katie Rodriguez was found in a facility 300 miles from where her father had been imprisoned, and brought to the medical center where Ben was recovering from his wounds. The reunion between Ben and Katie became a symbol of human resilience for survivors across the planet. Father and daughter had both been changed by their experiences, but their love for each other had grown stronger rather than weaker during their separation. Tony Clark led teams that repaired damaged infrastructure and restored essential services using captured alien technology. The electromagnetic pulse devices had disabled many human systems along with alien equipment, but the Resistance had planned for this contingency. Lisa Carter successfully activated long-range communication systems in captured alien ships and began broadcasting messages to other conquered worlds throughout the galaxy. The signals carried technical information about Zephyrian weaknesses and proof that successful resistance was possible. Dr. Peter Kane worked with other scientists to study alien technology and adapt it for human use. The collar control systems were dismantled while useful devices, like medical equipment and manufacturing tools, were reprogrammed to serve human needs rather than alien domination. The remaining Zephyrian fleet attempted to retreat from Earth orbit, but found their escape routes blocked by human-controlled ships using alien weapons systems. Most aliens chose surrender when faced with the same tactics they had used against human civilians. High Command Vexter's final transmission to the Empire described the impossible human uprising and warned that standard conquest protocols were ineffective against species that grew stronger under oppression. His report was dismissed by Zephyrian leadership as the delusions of a failed commander. 6 months after Liberation Day, Earth had been transformed into a fortress world dedicated to spreading resistance throughout the galaxy. Human engineers worked with captured alien technology to build ships capable of reaching other conquered worlds and carrying the message of liberation. Ben Rodriguez became the leader of the Earth Defense Council and helped establish policies to ensure that no species would ever again underestimate human determination. The scars from his final battle with Vexter served as permanent reminders of what humans would endure to protect their families. Lisa Carter headed the Space Liberation Initiative and commanded the first human fleet to leave Earth orbit carrying weapons and communication equipment to enslaved populations on distant worlds. Her ships broadcast the simple message that resistance was possible and humans would help other species fight for freedom. Dr. Amanda Stone established the Interspecies Medical Alliance and worked to heal the psychological trauma of conquest while also studying the biology of different alien species. Her research helped develop more effective resistance strategies tailored to specific enemy weaknesses. Maria Santos returned to teaching, but now her classroom included children from multiple species as Earth became a refuge for survivors from across the galaxy. She taught them the lesson that humans had learned through terrible experience: never mistake kindness for weakness or silence for submission. The final scene showed a new generation of human children, learning about their history while playing in parks where alien prison camps had once stood. They grew up understanding that some things were worth fighting for and that love could be transformed into an unstoppable force when properly directed. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 worlds using the same tactics that had always worked before. They had enslaved a species that seemed weak and emotionally unstable, but they had made one calculation error that destroyed their perfect record. They had given humans time to learn hatred and the patience to let that hatred evolve into something far more dangerous than simple anger.